Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, Romain Grosjean has had a torrid start to the 2018 season and is being consistently outperformed by his teammate Kevin Magnussen. The Frenchman has made a number of unforced errors already this year and is yet another driver on the grid under massive pressure. But how bad has he actually been in 2018 so far, and is this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix a season-defining race? Going right back to the start of the season, I kind of feel like Haas arrived in Australia riding the crest of a wave of excitement and anticipation after what was a very impressive pre-season. And once we'd seen qualifying and the race had got going, they were definitely the surprise package. Unfortunately though, as we all know very well by now, pit stop problems resulted in both drivers retiring, and that is where the problem started for Romain Grosjean. None of that is his fault, of course, but he never bounced back from that in the same way that his teammate did, and he got such a knock of confidence, and that has affected him massively. He then arrived in Bahrain and made a mistake in quali wide at the last corner. That cost him time and then put him out of position for the Grand Prix, and he never really recovered that weekend from there. Of course, things like bodywork flying off the car won't have helped, but he was well off the pace of his teammate. And after what was a disappointing weekend in China, he arrived in Baku already under pressure, desperate for a good result, and makes that stupid, inexcusable mistake under the safety car. These things happen in Formula 1, but for a driver with that experience to make that kind of error is just wholly unacceptable, and he deserves every bit of criticism he got for that. And that's not me bashing on him, but as I say, that is completely inexcusable, as was the incident in Spain. Now, I will say on this, his initial reactions to avoid a collision with his teammate were spot on. The problem was he lost control of the car and spun. Had that been all he'd done, and he allowed the car's momentum to take him off track, it'd be easy to let him off. The problem is, he openly admits that it was a conscious decision to floor the throttle and bring the car back across the racetrack, wiping out Nico Hülkenberg and Pierre Gasly. And it was that kind of move that reminded me of the Grosjean of old. And it confirmed he is feeling the pressure massively. Totally understandable because he has not had a good start to the year. And that is evidenced in the stats versus 2017 and his teammate. At this stage last season, Romain Grosjean had picked up 9 points. He'd got a couple of 8th place finishes, and he'd had a best qualifying of 6th place. His teammate only had 5 points on the board. And that's in a car that is far inferior to this year's Haas. And as you can see, there are a couple of DNFs for Grosjean as well. But when you look at the stats for 2018, his best qualifying was of course 7th place in Australia. His highest finish is 13th place, and so therefore it's no points on the board. He's retired 3 times, and his teammate already has 19 points on the board. So as I've already said, it is no wonder he is feeling that pressure. And all of this has led to speculation that he could be dropped mid-season by Haas. Now, Gunther Steiner has already backed him and dismissed the rumours, and for me, I don't see them dropping him. He has had a very poor start to the season, and some of his mistakes have been completely unacceptable. But he has got a lot of experience, and he showed in 2016 and again last season what he can do in that Haas. So the team know what he can do and will naturally have a lot of faith in him. But that's only going to be to a point. They may back him for now, but if he doesn't improve, their hand may well be forced. As I've said about multiple drivers this year, there is a long way to go this season, but he's got to sort it out now. I love a hypothetical situation. So let's say Haas decide tomorrow morning they've had enough and they drop Romain Grosjean. Who fills that seat? I think the first obvious one is probably Charles Leclerc. Haas do have those ties to Ferrari, not in the same way that, say, Sauber do, but I do get the impression that if they did decide to get rid of Grosjean, they'd turn to Ferrari to find a replacement. So Leclerc is an option, and he's been good so far this season, impressed a lot of people. There is also Antonio Giovinazzi, he's part of the Ferrari setup, so would sit quite nicely there. But if Grosjean were to be replaced, and they did go for a Ferrari driver, I think it's more likely Leclerc would get promoted and Giovinazzi would jump into Sauber. And it's also worth mentioning Daniel Kvyat, of course, he's at Ferrari. And to be perfectly honest, I would expect Robert Kubica and Pascal Wehrlein to be linked to that seat because they're linked to just about everything else at the moment. But again, I do not see Haas replacing him mid-season. So is the Canadian Grand Prix season-defining for Grosjean? It seems a little ridiculous to be saying that after 6 races, with 21 in the season. But he's been very poor this season so far. And when you look at his teammate start to 2018, as I've already said, it is simply not good enough from the Frenchman. But he is lacking in confidence. To be perfectly honest, he looks quite flat at the moment. Again, understandable. The problem is, as we've seen in the past, when that pressure starts to build and things get on top of him, his mistakes become more frequent. So what he needs is a good, clean weekend in Canada. Now, I'm not talking about top-end points. or even a Q3 appearance. He needs to go out on Friday, first practice, keep it clean all weekend, get some consistent pace, and if he can pick up a point at the end of the weekend, brilliant, because that will do his confidence the world of good. And that could well snowball over the next few races, results will get better, and he'll get back to what we know he is capable of. Canada is a track he's gone well at in the past, picked up a point last year and was again in the points in 2015, and of course, back in 2012, finished second. So it is a track he enjoys. So it's the perfect opportunity for him to bounce back. And I also have no doubt that the Haas will be much better in Canada than it was in Monaco. That car was awful around there. So if he nails this weekend, it could well be the turning point for his 2018 season. What I will say though is, yes, he's been getting a lot of flack, and yes, he completely deserves that for his start to the season. But Romain Grosjean is a good driver. He's not an amazing driver. We're not talking a world champion of the future or anything like that. And although he's made his mistakes this year, and some of his accidents are very reminiscent of his early Formula 1 career, but he is not the same driver that he was back in 2012. He has come a long way over the last 6 years. And I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that if he can put together a couple of good weekends, he will be able to turn this season around. They are, of course, just my thoughts and opinions on Romain Grosjean, but what do you make of his start to the 2018 season? And if you were in Haas's position, what would you do? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I will be back later tonight, actually at 8 PM for the first ever live episode of F1 Daily, and the Canadian Grand Prix preview will be up on the channel tomorrow as well. But in the meantime, you can follow me on social media, links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and to Discord, all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.